Hey everybody, we're back for another segment. I just finished listening to the Tesla first quarter financial call, and it was really long. It was about an hour and a half, but there's a lot of information on here, so I'm not going to waste too much time. We're going to kind of get right into it. Now, I apologize if it's jumping around a little bit. I had to try and put things into some kind of semblance of order because the questions were coming left to right and center, and it was tough to kind of put it into some kind of logical sense here. So apologize for that. We'll try and get into it here. So first things first, in the description at the bottom, I'll put the link to the shareholder, or not the shareholder letter, but the financial call letter, and you can read it for yourself. And I'll also put a link to the webcast, the audio webcast, so you can listen to it yourself. So first things first, the massive Schuler press that they were waiting on is live and it's running. They're in the process of commissioning it, which is testing the dies and running through production tests and so on and so forth. So Elon had mentioned, I think it was the last financial call, that that Schuler press would be potentially a bottleneck for Model 3 production. But now that it's running and it's going, that seems to be like the last roadblock that they were waiting to get sorted out. So that's really good news. Elon also mentioned that the Model 3 production line looks much better than the production line for the Model X and X. And it's mainly due through huge improvements in the equipment that they've got and the automation. So that'll be interesting. Hopefully someday we get a chance to look at that. Another little bit, and I'll read this little short excerpt from the letter, and it talks about the paint shop and some of the production. It says the paint shop preparation has been completed and installations of our dedicated Model 3 body welding and general assembly lines are progressing well. Equipment installation is also underway for volume manufacturing of cells, modules, battery packs, and drive units at Gigafactory 1. That's the one in Sparks, Nevada. We're also working closely with all the Model 3 suppliers to ensure the readiness ahead of start of production. So that's a little blurb. So it's looking good on that front. Now, a lot of you, especially in the U.S., are going to be particularly interested in this little comment. One of the financial analysts had asked Elon how they feel about the possibility of most of the U.S. people that have reservations for Model 3 getting the full tax credit. And Elon said that he felt very confident that the people that have a Model 3 reservation in the U.S. Will get full advantage of the tax credit. It's also important to note, however, that the tax credit, and I've mentioned this before, I've on the M3OC show and some other videos I've done in the past, that the tax credit in the U.S. does not immediately get cut off. It's a phase-out period that begins once Tesla has delivered and sold the 200,000th vehicle in the U.S., not worldwide production, but in the U.S. And it's a phase-out period that lasts over a year. So when they reach 200,000 cars, just in a nutshell here, the phase-out period triggers. Now, they can make as many cars as they want for, I think it's the first quarter or 2 quarters when the phase-out begins, and then you still get full access to the full $7,500 credit. So anyways, watch the videos. It's better explained on there. He also mentioned, too, that because of that situation, that they were going to focus on U.S. production for U.S. customers first. That's something we kind of expected them to do based on Elon's comments and tweets in the past, that they wanted to do the right thing. So I think he's kind of alluding to that again, that they're going to try and make sure that as many people as possible can get advantage of this tax credit. So that's pretty good news. Another little bit that was mentioned in the letter, that they're working very hard to make sure that software is sorted out on the Model 3 to make sure that they have worldwide homologation. So that what that means to me is that it indicates that they're working quite hard to make sure that the software versions for all the different countries are going to be in place so that they don't have any delays as far as getting the cars out in the other countries once those deliveries start coming online, probably most likely sometime early 2018. So that includes for us in Canada. So it's good news. There is a slight chance we might see some cars in Canada by the end of 2017, but I'm more confident more towards the spring. So we'll keep an eye on that. And if we have, obviously, if we have any information on that, we'll be one of the first to report on that. Now, there was also some discussion from an analyst asking Elon if he could comment at all on the Model 3 trim levels and what the approximate cost would be. Now, they wouldn't give any approximate cost, but Elon alluded to the fact that they expected to see a 20 to 30% increase over the base cost of the vehicle. So take your $35,000 and then take 20 or 30% of that to be the average mix of the cost of the options on a car. That's something that we've heard before. And John McNeil, who's the Vice President of Global Sales, also chimed in on the call and said that the Model 3 specifications would be released closer or revealed closer to when production actually begins. And he chimed in and said 20% is a pretty good number to use. So again, I don't believe that we're going to see Model S pricing on the options for the Model 3. It just doesn't make sense. So we'll keep an eye on that, but budget for that for the Model S, and if it comes in lower, then it's a bonus for you. Another analyst had asked them as well how things were progressing with the Model 3 and how it kind of differed to different programs that they had before. And Elon said that, take for example the Model X, their strategy of holding on to all the features and delivering them all at once was really a mistake. It was a lot of hubris for that. So they said that the Model 3 has a better supply chain, it's easier to make, and for them it seems to be working quite well for their production timeline. So a simpler car, less features, is making sure that this car arrives on time. So it seems like they've got their stuff together now this time. It's good to hear. We've been hearing about this for some time now, but it's good to hear it being reiterated again that the program is on time. Some other comments came up from analysts as well, asking about the service aspect, what Tesla was doing for that. Both Elon and John McNeil both chimed in on this. They're looking at expanding service greatly, especially with the advent of the Model 3 coming, of course. And they're doing service expansion through improved service centers, building larger service centers, some of them with lifts, and the number of like 80 lifts were mentioned, 70 lifts. Were also mentioned, but a lot of focus is being put on the mobile service. So these little trucks and stuff that they're going to be able to go around and do service out in the field. They feel that most of the service on the vehicles is minor. It doesn't need to actually come into the service center. So right now they're in the experimentation phase in some major markets with the mobile service. And as they make improvements to that, they're going to be rolling it out throughout the rest of the year. So that's some pretty good news there. John McNeil also mentioned in the call, too, that the Model 3 was really designed for high reliability. So they see it as the best service is no service at all. You know, like the old Maytag washing machine commercials from way back in the day. Now, Elon also chimed in, too. He was very adamant on the call that he wanted to clear up a misconception about the Model 3. So I'm just kind of repeating here almost verbatim what he said. It is that there's a biggest misconception out there that the Model 3 is really an upgrade to the Model S, and it's not. It's a smaller, more affordable version of the Model S with fewer features. He said if there was a version number you could attach to the Model S, it would be, say, like version 4, and Model 3 would be also at version 4. So they have essentially the same technology. It's just cheaper, and it's smaller, and has less features. So don't expect things like 3 different versions of the roof and 5 versions of suspension. And I mean, it's not going to be like that. There was also some talk about the Model 3 production line, and Elon said that he feels that the Model 3 production line as it stands right now will be roughly comparable with the best high-volume vehicle production lines in the world. So, you know, take any large manufacturer, be similar to that. However, it's also 3 to 4 times more automated than the Model S or X production line. So they also mentioned something like 5 times the volume with the same amount of hours spent on a car. Now comes some juicy stuff. Elon started talking a lot more about Model Y in this conference call. So we're going to dig in here. They said that the really big step in the manufacturing will really come online with Model Y when they build the Model Y production factory. Now, mentioned they said factory, not a production line. So this is going to fall in with this new Gigafactory slash car factory that they've mentioned in the past that they want to build for future iterations, like this Alien Dreadnought situation with version 2. I think that's where it really comes in. Elon said it won't be like anything else you've seen in the world. It's going to be very, very automated. Now, there was also some mentioning of timing for Model Y. Elon said that they hope aspirationally for the Model Y to be out late 2019, but most likely in 2020. Based on that, Elon seems to think that 1 million units, that's S, X, Model 3, and the Model Y, will be achievable by 2020, and this is one of the goals that they've tried to do. Keep in mind that they've said in the past 500,000 vehicles that they want to make out of the Fremont factory is for Model S, X, and Model 3. Once they bring the Model Y online, they're going to need a new factory for that, so that's where those numbers are coming from. So some other information on the Model Y. Elon mentioned that Model Y is going to be built on a completely different platform than Model 3. Elon gave some examples, like a wiring harness. They said the Model S wiring harness is about 3 kilometers long. The Model 3 is 1.5 kilometers long. And get this, the Model Y is only 100 meters. I don't know what that looks like, but that's pretty nice. He said it's not really a wiring harness, it's a flex harness with a high rate data bus on it. He mentioned that it's not going to be CAN bus, which is kind of like the universal standard they use on a lot of cars these days. And they're also looking at not necessarily doing 12 volts on the endpoints. He said something like 12 volts is ridiculous. It doesn't need to be that way, just because that's the way the car industry's always been. So that'll be interesting. It's obvious at this point that they're, deep into the work of the Model Y development. So, but again, we won't see the fruits for that for at least 2 to 3 years. So we'll keep an eye on that. But looking interesting. Now we're getting towards the end of the call, so some of the questions are a little bit different. One of the investors had asked Elon what he thought about Level 5 and how that would affect the interior design of their cars. Elon said that they don't really see that as being particularly important. They said maybe offering something like pub seating, which is, front facing or whatever, instead of everyone facing forward. That they don't really feel that it's important. Now, I find that kind of interesting too, because if you look at the Model 3, with autopilot and the second reveal that Elon said that it would all make sense when you saw the interior of the car, I find it interesting that they're talking about that. To me, at the end of the day, when I think about it, the Model 3 really, Model 3 interior really represents for them a different direction that they want to take as far as how they see the simplicity and ease of manufacturing. Now, keep in mind that because it's simple doesn't mean that it's necessarily cheap. Another comment was made too about the NVIDIA autopilot computer. Elon said that, this was all in the context of Level 5 autonomy. They said that the computer in the cars is designed to be easily upgradable should they need more compute power, since it's located really in the glove box area. They don't feel that they need to, but if they do, it's something that they could potentially offer in the future as as an upgrade. So that's kind of interesting too. Elon mentioned that the Model S production rate has reached the top of the S curve. So now what they're doing is that they're really focusing on costs and margins and getting more quality into the vehicle. I think they feel that the run rate of the Model S is pretty much where it needs to be for the foreseeable future based on demand. So that's where they're kind of going in that direction. There were also some questions, of course, with the Tesla Semi, because he's been starting to talk about it a little bit more since they put the video up at the TED conference. Tesla seems to feel that they want to disrupt the pickup truck and the semi-truck markets by showing what an EV powertrain can actually do for those market segments. J.B. Straubel also chimed in on the call, and he said that it also works from the fuel aspect, because there's a small number of trucks out there that burn a disproportionate amount of petroleum. So for them, an EV drivetrain actually makes sense for that. The also interesting tidbit too that Elon said that the semi-truck was actually made out of a bunch of Model 3 motors. It's a lot of Model 3 technology on there. So it'll be interesting to see how they've parlayed that into a semi-truck. One of the financial analysts had asked Elon about a comment that he had made some time ago about the possibility of Tesla exceeding Apple's market cap. Elon thought about it for a little bit, and then he said something along the lines of, well, I might be delusional, but I see a clear path of getting there through manufacturing advances from, our design of the machine that makes the machine. There's that quote again. But he also mentioned, too, that it involves an insane amount of software development. A lot of this stuff will come through once they start announcing more of these, gigafactories, car and battery factories melded together towards the end of the year. Speaking of which, towards the end of the year, they also said that they would probably clarify their plans about building a production facility in China. While we're getting towards the end of the video, I want to mention that this is going to be the last financial call that Tesla will do until the Model 3 production actually begins. So we should be able to get a lot more information sometime in early August after the Model 3 production actually starts in July. One last little bit. I want to give a shout out to a good Twitter follower. His name is Justin Wise, and he was very kind to make me his +1 on the VIP tour at the Tesla facility, where we'll get a private viewing of the Model 3 as well. So thank you for that. So having said that, if you're looking at buying a Model S or a Model X in the market, please use his referral code as a thanks. His referral code is ts.la/Justin, that's JUSTIN, 4426. So make sure you give him a shout out on Twitter. Thanks for that, Justin. It's really appreciated. Anyhow, that's it for today. Make sure you follow us at Model 3 Owners on Twitter. Check out our forum at model3ownersclub.com. We also have a Patreon page. I'd appreciate if you take a look at that. If you want to support us, keep the videos going. That's at patreon.com/Model 3 Owners Club. And don't forget, we got some really cool t-shirts. Show off your Model 3 cred. Anyhow, that's it for today, and we'll catch you on the next video. Thanks for watching.